She was already standing in my driveway before I could even unload the truck. Arms folded tight, sunglasses perched on her face, wearing that plastic smile that hides something ugly underneath. I just bought my dream house. 5 acres of quiet, open land. Far from HOA. Nonsense. Or at least, that's what I thought. The second I stepped out of the truck, this woman appeared like she'd been waiting all afternoon. "You can't park here," she said sharply. I blinked, genuinely confused. I live here now." Her smile dropped instantly. "That's not possible. This area belongs to Maple Creek HOA. I manage it." That's when it clicked. She was one of those people, the kind who think a clipboard gives them authority. I reached into my pocket, pulled out the paperwork, and handed it to her. "See that line right there? Outside HOA jurisdiction. This house isn't part of your community." She didn't even glance at the paper. She just smirked. "That's what everyone says before they get fined." I laughed, assuming this was some bizarre misunderstanding. "Lady, I'm not in your HOA. You can't fine me." Her eyes narrowed. "We'll see about that." The next morning, I opened my front door and found a bright orange notice taped right to it. Violation notice. Unauthorized occupancy. I stared at it for a full minute, half expecting someone to jump out yelling prank. Then I noticed her Karen sitting across the street in a lawn chair, phone raised, clearly recording me. When I walked toward her, she shot up fast and pointed at me like a cop. "Step back. You're trespassing." I laughed in disbelief. "Trespassing? On my own property?" She didn't even flinch. "This entire area is HOA-controlled land. You moved in illegally." I already called security. "Security?" I repeated. "You mean the police?" She smirked again. "No, our security." That's when a black SUV crawled around the corner and rolled up to my gate. 2 men stepped out wearing cheap-looking uniforms and badges that didn't quite look right. One of them barked, "Sir, step away from the property." That was the moment I realized this wasn't just a nosy neighbor. This woman was gearing up for war. She screamed, "Arrest him," even though I was standing on my own land. The 2 men walked toward me like they owned the place, slow, confident, hiding behind bargain bin sunglasses. One even had a radio clipped to his shirt, though I noticed it wasn't turned on. "Sir, we've received a report of illegal occupancy," the taller one said, forcing his voice low and threatening. I raised an eyebrow. "Illegal occupancy? You mean buying my own house?" He ignored the question. Karen stepped forward, waving her phone like it was evidence. "I told you he's not part of the HOA. He's violating community code." My blood pressure spiked, but I kept my voice even. "Show me your badge numbers," I said. "Both of you." The shorter one hesitated. "We don't have to do that." "Oh, you absolutely do," I replied, stepping closer. "Because impersonating law enforcement is a felony." Silence. Karen's smug grin cracked just a little. The taller guy glanced at his partner. Let's verify the address first," he muttered, before they could move. I pulled out my phone and hit record. "I'll help you. This is 2140 Pine Hollow Road. Purchased legally. Deed in my name. Want to see the title?" Karen snapped. "You can't record us. This is private property." I laughed under my breath. "Yeah, mine." That's when she completely lost control. She stormed past me onto my porch, screaming, "You can't live here. You don't belong in this neighborhood. I'll have you removed by tonight." The 2 men hesitated, whispered something to each other, then scrambled back into the SUV. The engine roared and they peeled away, leaving her standing there, red-faced and breathing hard. I stared her down. "You just trespassed," she sneered. "You'll regret this. Paperwork doesn't mean anything here. I am the HOA." Then she stormed off, snapping pictures of my house like she was building a fake case file. That night, as I sat inside trying to calm down, headlights flashed again. Her car was parked right on my grass. She wasn't done. Not even close. The next morning, the sound of hammering woke me up. At first, I thought it was construction nearby until I looked outside. Karen was on my lawn, pounding a wooden post into the ground. A bright red sign hung from it, showing property. "Trespassers will be removed." I rushed out, stunned. "Are you out of your mind?" She didn't even turn around. "I told you I'd handle this properly," she said calmly, like she was doing me a favor. "Karen," I said, forcing my voice steady, "you have no authority here. This land was never part of your HOA. I checked with the county before buying it." She turned slowly, eyes blazing with fake righteousness. "Paperwork can be forged. You think you can move next to us and do whatever you want? You're lowering property values." I laughed bitterly. "The only thing lowering value is you standing on my lawn with a stolen sign." That's when I noticed a man walking over from across the street, middle-aged, wearing a cap, holding a coffee. He looked familiar. Karen spun around and plastered on a fake smile. "Morning, Mr. Rogers." He didn't smile back. He looked at me and said quietly, "Don't let her push you around. She did this to the last guy too." Karen's smile vanished. "That's enough, Paul. Go inside." He ignored her. "She hired fake inspectors last time. Got caught when the real sheriff showed up." I turned to Karen. "Fake inspectors? Sounds familiar." Her face flushed red. "You don't know what you're talking about. This property is mine," I cut in. "And if you step on it again, I'll have you charged with trespassing. Understood?" She glared, then hissed, "You'll regret this." "Everyone does." She stormed off muttering. When I turned back toward my house, my stomach dropped. My mailbox was open. All my documents were gone. The deed papers I'd left inside missing. Taped to the post was a note in thick marker. "Prove you own it." That wasn't just a threat. It was a challenge. I rushed inside, checking drawers, counters, everything untouched except one thing. My security camera light was off. She'd cut the power. I sat down, took a breath, and made a call I hoped I'd never need. "Hey, Chief, it's Alex." A pause. Then a familiar voice. "What trouble are you in now?" Fake violation notices. Stolen mail. Impersonating security officers. Ring any bells? He sighed. "You always find the crazies. I'll run a background check." "What's her name?" "Karen Walker. Claims she runs Maple Creek HOA. Give me a few hours." I hung up, feeling better until tires crunched outside. Through the blinds, I saw Karen again. This time, she wasn't alone. 3 cars behind her. A small army of HOA members with clipboards and phones. She stepped forward and shouted, "You have 1 hour to vacate. This home is being seized for HOA violations." I stepped onto the porch. "You've lost your mind." She crossed her arms. "No, I lost patience." She waved a document dramatically. "We have proof you forged ownership papers. This property belongs to us." I smirked. "You might want to check where that proof came from." Her eyes flickered just for a second. Because I knew what she didn't. "County records don't lie." "Still," she shouted, "either you leave, or we remove you by force." Right on cue, a sheriff's cruiser rolled up behind her convoy. Karen's smile froze solid. The chief stepped out, calm as ever. "Funny," he said, "because I was about to say the same thing to you." Her crowd went silent. For the first time, Karen had nothing to say. As the sheriff walked past her, boots crunching on gravel, he stopped beside me, nodded once, then turned to her. "Ma'am, we've received reports of impersonation and unauthorized postings on private property. Care to explain?" Karen blinked, scrambling. "I'm the HOA president. He's living here illegally." The sheriff raised an eyebrow. "Community rules don't override state law. You can't seize private property. And you sure as hell can't send fake officers onto someone else's land." "I didn't send anyone," she snapped, but her voice was already shaking. "Oh, you didn't?" I said calmly, pulling out my phone. I tapped the screen and played a video one I'd found that morning after restoring my security feed. The footage showed her standing at my gate the day before, talking to the 2 fake officers, handing them envelopes just moments before they confronted me. The sheriff leaned closer to her. "Those 2 are already in custody. They confessed. Said you paid them to scare the new homeowner off." Karen's mouth opened, but nothing came out. Behind her, the little crowd she'd brought began to murmur, stepping back one by one, like rats abandoning a sinking ship. The sheriff looked at me. "You pressing charges?" I glanced at Karen. Her hands were trembling now, eyes darting, trapped. "Not yet," I said. But if she steps on my land again, I'll make sure she answers for every law she's broken." For a moment, she just stood there furious, humiliated, completely cornered. Then she shrieked, "This isn't over. You can't just buy your way into our community. We run this place." The sheriff folded his arms. "Ma'am, you're about 10 seconds away from adding disorderly conduct to your list. I suggest you leave." She froze, shot me one last venomous look, then stormed to her car. Tires squealed, dirt sprayed, and she was gone. The sheriff chuckled. "You always did attract trouble, Alex." I sighed. "Guess trouble likes quiet neighborhoods." But deep down I knew this wasn't finished. The way she screamed, it didn't sound like defeat. It sounded like a warning. That night, the rain came down hard. The kind that drowns out everything except your own heartbeat. I tried to sleep, but I knew she wasn't done. People like Karen never back down. They regroup. Around 2 o'clock a.m., flashing lights moved across my yard, not police lights, just slow, creeping headlights. I threw on a jacket, grabbed a flashlight, and stepped onto the porch. There it was. Karen's white SUV, parked near my shed. Engine off. Her shadow moved inside. "Unbelievable," I muttered, walking toward it. Her door flew open. She stumbled out, soaked from the rain, clutching something in her hand. A set of house keys. My keys? She froze when she saw me. "You shouldn't have crossed me," she hissed. "This land belongs to Maple Creek. I'm just taking back what's ours." "You broke into my house?" I asked, anger and disbelief mixing. She lifted her chin. "It's not your house. You faked the papers." "I'm fixing things. You really want to test that theory?" I said quietly, stepping closer. "You're on private land at 2 in the morning, holding stolen property. That's breaking and entering, theft, and trespassing." For the first time, fear flickered in her eyes. But she stayed put. "You can't scare me," she whispered. "I've dealt with worse." I smiled faintly. "You sure about that?" A deep rumble cut through the rain. Powerful, steady. Headlights turned the corner and lit her up like a stage spotlight. My brother's truck. He stepped out, soaked but smiling, one hand resting near his badge. "Karen Walker," he called. "You're under arrest for trespassing, theft, and harassment." Drop the keys. Her jaw fell open. You're a cop?" I folded my arms. "Retired?" "He's still active." She looked between us, frozen, then slowly let the keys fall. Rain poured harder as my brother cuffed her and read her rights. Her perfect hair was plastered to her face now, her voice barely audible. "You can't do this." "I'm the HOA president." My brother smirked. "Not anymore." As they drove off, I stood in the rain, finally breathing again. Still, something told me this wasn't the end. HOA power doesn't die easily. It just hides. The next few days were quiet. Too quiet. No orange notices. No cars. No yelling. Peaceful, but my gut warned me it was temporary. I fixed the cameras, replaced the locks. The sheriff's office said they'd handle the HOA, but people like her never work alone. Around noon one day, I returned from town and saw a stack of papers on my porch, wrapped in plastic, stamped with the Maple Creek HOA seal. A lawsuit. They were suing me. Signed by the board. I laughed. Doubling down. That night I called the chief. "They're coming after me legally now," he sighed. "Figures. Don't worry. Their charter doesn't cover your land." The next morning, I received a certified document from the county. Outside HOA jurisdiction. I framed it, hung it on my gate, added a sign, "Verified property owner. HOA. Trespassers will be reported." Neighbors gathered. Some even clapped. Turns out, I wasn't the only one she'd bullied. Mr. Rogers nodded. "You shut her down." "Maybe," I said. "But she's not done." "She won't be," he replied. "She was trying to buy the woods behind your house. Planned to expand the HOA and force you out." That night, I called an old friend, a county land surveyor. The next morning, we walked the boundary lines. Fake amendments. Altered maps. All illegal. We sent everything in. By the end of the week, Maple Creek HOA was under investigation. Suspended. Gone. Days late, the letter arrived. Karen Walker charged with fraud, impersonation, and harassment. That evening, I stood on my porch, listening to the wind. Peace at last. A woman pulled up with her daughter. Is it true this place isn't in the HOA? I smiled. No Karen, no rules. Just neighbors. As the sun set, golden light spilled across the land I fought to keep. I whispered. I didn't fight for this country to be told I can't live on my own land. Somewhere. Karen finally understood. She didn't just lose her power. She lost her kingdom.